Hello everyone, welcome to our special lecture. This event is a part of a series of diverse scientific programs, sessions, and activities organized by the Linguistics Research and Language Planning team. Our objective is to contribute to the advancement of scientific research and achieve qualitative improvements within the academy. We are delighted to welcome our esteemed speaker, Mr. Mohamed TAIBI. I would like also to express our sincere gratitude to Dr. MAROUAN Es-SAKRAN, the President of the Academy, and the Vice President, Dr.SAFIA Kessas, as well as the Executive Director, Mr. JAMAL IDRISSI, Dr.ABDELKADER Ben Touati, the Director of the Linguistic Research and Language Planning team, and Ms. Pr.SOUKAINA ELBAZ, along with all the esteemed members of our Academy. They all provide valuable contributions towards disseminating knowledge and organizing these international scientific events that bring together distinguished researchers from diverse academic disciplines. We also extend a warm welcome to the researchers and attendees joining us on the scientific platforms and YouTube. Additionally, we welcome all members of Beit Lisaniyat Academy. I would like to mention that there are opportunities to participate with your own research as a part of this series within Beit Lisaniyat. You are encouraged to engage in the discussion by posting your questions and comments in the live chat throughout this session. Please note that we will share the attendance confirmation link with you during the event in the chat. Finally, we kindly request our valued followers to support the Academy efforts by subscribing to the channel and clicking the like button to stay updated on upcoming events and activities. Now let me use our guest speaker, Professor Mohamed TAIBI. He is an accomplished academic and educator with a diverse educational and professional background. He holds a BA in English Studies, focusing on linguistics. After completing his undergraduate studies, Professor TAIBI pursued master degree in languages, Moroccan culture and ecology. Now he is continuing his academic journey by undertaking a doctoral studies on communication at the Faculty of Letters and Human Science in Oujda. Professor TAIBI has been serving as a high school teacher for the past 10 years. He is currently enrolled in an MA program in Translation, Culture and Digital Media at the Faculty of Nadur. Professor TAIBI diverse educational background spanning linguistics, languages, culture and communication, combined with his extensive teaching experience, position him as a well-rounded and knowledgeable academic and educator. Mr. TAIBI will present a comprehensive exploration of the linguistic considerations and challenges involved in the translation of literary works, including poetry, drama, and prose. The lecture will cover the theoretical foundations, the distinctions between literary and ordinary language, and the various linguistic levels to be addressed, and conclude with a case study or case studies and specific linguistic aspects to be considered in the translation of different literary genres. Mr. TAIBI, Dr. TAIBI, what is yours?
Thank you so much, Hmad Benaissa. Thank you very much. I would like also to thank the Academy and all the officials guaranteeing the success of this lecture. So I would like to say that this topic is one of the important topics in translation, because translation has evolved and has been helped by artificial intelligence and new technologies, but it still faces a lot of challenges, especially in literary translation. So in this lecture, we are going to explore the linguistic challenges facing this literary translation. And as you presented, we are going to see theoretical grounds and conceptual assumptions that are going to be focused on literary language versus ordinary language, because the first challenge, the first linguistic challenge, is the type of the language that we are dealing with. Also, we are going to see the different linguistic levels involved in literary translation. And then we are going to see the attempts by different scholars and translators to translate literary works, and what they considered in doing so. Then, in the practical part, we are going to discover some practical and empirical examples. So, given an idea about what we mean by linguistic challenges, we need to see that these challenges are first of all focused, or they concern phonological, syntactic, lexical, and semantic levels of language. So these levels constitute what is known as stylistics, or the stylistic form of language. So when we speak about language, there is a sound, and this sound is studied in phonetics and phonology. And basically, phonetics is the study, the physical study of sounds, the sounds produced by human beings to constitute a language. But phonology is a different level. It studies the functions of these sounds and how these sounds are combined and joined together to form meaningful phonemes and meaningful also words. Also, on the level of the structure, we have morphology, which is concerned with the internal forms of the words, and syntax, that is how these words are grouped together and what comes with that, such as the accordance and so on. But also language has meaning, and this meaning is divided into either a semantic meaning or a pragmatic meaning, and we're going to see basically what those means. So semantic meaning is the dictionary meaning, the notative meaning, but pragmatic meaning is how language is actually used in different contexts. So what makes literary language different from an ordinary language, as Ezra Pound, the American modernist poet, thinks, is that literary language is characterized by rhythm, sound, form, more than the sense. So focus is on structural levels more than the meaning levels. So what we are going to be concerned with is the sound and the structure that is more than meaning. We have other properties that make this language different from the other language. We have the artistic sensitivity that is an indispensable ingredient in any first-rate translation of a literary work, as Naida says. So this sensitivity, you cannot change anything by anything else. You cannot take simply any word from a certain language and transfer it or transfer its meaning to another language, and simply without caring about how it is constructed, that is on the linguistic levels mentioned earlier. Also, the aesthetic level, what makes a language beautiful. So in literary language is known for making a text more beautiful. Also, what is also relevant is how literary texts are concerned either to have no specific purpose and or to be far more complex stylistically. That is, literary texts are not written for a specific purpose, that is to convince, like marketing texts or scientific texts. Sometimes literary texts are just written to exercise some psychological needs, to express oneself, and for no reason at all, just someone expressing themselves in a beautiful, of course, speaking about the language used, in a beautiful language. Also, language of literature is different from the original language. This is mentioned by many scholars, among which we are going to see later. And these differences are basically concerned with the rhythm, metrical rhythm. We are going to explain later what is metrical rhythm, that is related to poetry, and also how emotions and sensuous emotions are involved in this language. The first characterization of language by Katharina Rice is that language, or what she calls expressive language, is the language of plays, graphic novels, and poems. So, what makes this literary text different from the others, for example, a report or a lecture, is that they are expressive. They express feelings and emotions. They also express an aesthetic and stylistic level. There has been attempts to translate or literary works, the meaning of literary works and the language of literary works changes over time. So what has been at a time operative, that is like an advertisement or an electoral speech, could become something else, could become expressive. For example, we have the example of Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels in 1726, which was originally satirical to attack British government of the day. And this text was operative. It is nowadays read and translated as ordinary entertaining fiction. That is mentioned by Jeremy Monday, in his book Introducing Translation Studies, Theories and Application. Mary Snell Hornby also distinguishes this literary translation from general language translation and special language translation. What she did was make or write 6 levels of how literary translation should be looked at. So what literary works are? They are stage films, for example. They can be lyric poems. They can be literature, for example, children's literature. And these works are characterized, as you can see, by a creative extension and the recreation of language dimensions. That is what makes them different from the other types of writing, is that the creativity of the writer, the imagination of the writer, makes it difficult for someone else to assimilate or to transfer their meanings to another language. She mentions by the end the speakability of the text, and Mary Snell Hornby, the integrated approach, comes with this speakability, which she relates to the sound and rhythm of the text that is meant for translation. So she returns everything to this phonetic and philological aspects of the text. Basic attempts to translate have considered a lot of aspects. Ezra Pound's approach, of course, was experimental. He was looking at the expressive qualities of the language, and he was seeking to energize language by clarity first, by saving the rhythm, saving the sounds, and saving the form. He was not much concerned with the sense, but he made the other elements more important than the sense. And by that, he thinks that he was energizing language. Bruni was particularly concerned to retain the style of the original author, that is, to assimilate the form of in which the original literary text was written. Also, Lefebvre, André Lefebvre, who thinks that translation is a rewriting, says on every level of the translation process, it can be shown that if linguistic consideration enter into conflict with considerations of ideological and poetological nature, the latter tends to win. So he says that people or translators are considering poetological nature and ideological meanings of literary translations at the expense of the linguistic properties of the original text. Another way of translating, or something that differs from the previous translation, is Schleimacher, Friedrich Schleimacher's way of translating. He was for making the translated text or the target text or the target language similar as much as possible to the source language. That is, the way in which a translator is going to translate should consider the original forms, the original linguistic levels of the source language, not the target language. Also, another attempt was made by Davis in Proust. He was concerned about matching the style of the original text. That is, he wanted the translated text to be as nearly as possible reproduced, keeping, of course, the words choices, the word order, the syntax, and the repetition of words, which can be sometimes impossible to achieve given that languages are quite different from one another. Other attempts include or depend on, for example, listening to poems. A poem should be heard, should be listened to, and should not be read. Of course, the graphical form of the poem, the writing or the verses of the poem as organized by the original author are an important thing to consider while translating. But what John Filstiner was considering is the phonetic level. That is, he needed to listen to the poem, and he needed the translation to be the translated text to be as much possible as, of course, considering the sound level, as the original text. Levy also, he was concerned with how to reproduce the stylistic effects, sees that literary translation as both a reproductive and a recreative labor with the goal of equivalent aesthetic effect. Of course, this ambition seems hard to achieve, to be achieved. So Levy needed to think about reproducing this text, of course, creatively. But does this, or is this going to keep the text as it is, or is it going to create a new created text Uh, so it makes translation again quite a challenging task on the linguistic level. Lexical fidelity also has been concerned by many scholars. So choosing one word in a source language may not, although it could, although the translator could find an equivalent, but there are no real equivalent words from a language to another, because in each language a word has a different context and it has been created in a different context. Davis also tried to match Proust's style to reproduce Proust's word choice, word order, syntax, repetition of words, and his handling the sound and the rhythm of a sentence, and the alliteration and assonance. We are going to see how is this how has this been attempted in the practical section. There are many things to consider. Of course, it is easy to say, like Jacobson says, poetry by definition is untranslatable, and leave everything without translation. But there are many ways of translating literary text and keeping or challenging the linguistic barriers or the linguistic transfer from a language to another. What is at risk, as we can see, is that in translation studies, for example, people are giving importance to one element over the other. So once, for example, a phonetic level is considered, the syntactic level can be missed. Or if form is considered and given importance, if the semantic meaning is given importance, the use of context is going to change to appropriate the translated text to a different context in which the selected words are meant for. One of the characteristics, for example, of poems in English is the meter. And because we need to consider the linguistic differences, especially the sounds of the poem while translating. So we have, as we can see, that the meter is a combination of two syllables, and syllables in languages are not the same. So if, as you can see on the slide, the English syllables can be constituted by a consonant, a vowel, or just a vowel, or just a consonant and a vowel, or a vowel and a consonant. So this syllabic structure of English cannot be replicated by other languages, because what constitutes a syllable in a language is not what constitutes a syllable in the other language. For drama, as another literary genre, what is at stake is the loss of verbal, literary, theatrical, proxemic, kinetic, and cinematic effects. And by verbal, of course, translating a play from a language to another requires changing the language used, requires also changing the other non-verbal elements shown on the stage of the theater. So if, for example, as we have the example of Shakespeare's Othello, if in the place of a handkerchief that is meant as a material of token of love, which comes to symbolize infidelity, is translated in the source, of course this is in the source text, some French translators have translated it by a crucifix. And of course in the Christian tradition, a crucifix can be a symbol of infidelity, because Jesus Christ was betrayed by his companions, and then he was, as they think, of course, crucified. In drama, in translating drama, what's at stake is not simply translating what's written, or as in poetry, what's heard, but what is audiovisual. So both are considered: what's heard on the stage and what's viewed, or what's shown on the same stage. So different techniques are going to be shown in the empirical level. What characterizes drama, or the dramatic language, from the other languages is the pitch, the tone, which changes from, for example, a young man, or the pitch. This is the pitch, which changes from a man to a woman. So a way in which a man speaks is usually with a low pitch, but sometimes women speak with a high pitch. Also the tone, that carries a lot of emotional aspects, such as anger, such as fear, such as stress, and also the gestures. So what can mean something that is good in a place, or the way in which people sometimes hitchhike in a place, is not the same in which another group of people uses body language. Yes, Judith explains that the translator of a dramatic text is generally also obliged to disambiguate not only the words of the play, but the actions, gestures, and even attitudes of the character. Of course, the job of the translator is not to disambiguate, is not to explain, but to transfer from a language to another, to transfer meaning from across languages. And disambiguating could result in changing or betraying the source text. So what should be considered is the performability and the playability of the play. In translating prose, that is novels, we are going to start with how the novel, the literary novel, or that is subscribed to children's literature, that is Harry Potter, and how it has been translated to the Italian language. So there are many proper nouns. For example, Slytherin is translated to Serpiverdi in Italian, which means green snake. As you can see, we have at the sound level, much of the sounds are kept there. So we have the S sound, which indicates something sneaky, is kept there. And also we have Ravenclaw, which of course reflects the British culture, because it is a British word, is translated as Pico Ranira, that is black sheep, of course, in the Italian language. Language cannot be or cannot be kept as it is when translated. Antoine Berman speaks about a lot of ways in which translation loss occurs. So we are not going to discuss all of them, but what's, for example, is at stake is, for example, the quantitative impoverishment that is the loss of lexical variation in translation. So, for example, from translating from Spanish to English, 3 words which are semblante, rostro, or cara, are all going to be translated as face. So we have 3 words are going to be translated in the same word, that is face. This is going, of course, to impoverish translation by reducing the lexical level of the original text. Now, in the practical level, and we are going to start with a drama text, which is The Death of a Salesman, that is written by Arthur Miller, is translated into Mort d'un commis voyageur by Jean-Claude Gramberg. So as we have in the first line, a melody is heard, and in the translated text, un air de flûte. Here we have the 2 texts do not start with the same thing. And we continue, played upon a flûte. Nous parlons d'enfance. Of course, there is a total change of the original text. Deux pionniers et de grands espaces se fit d'abord entendre. It is a small and fine, telling of grace and trees and the horizon. Of course, there is a total deviation from the original text and the translated text. Moving on to what's happening there, we can see that the linguistic properties of the first text are being erased and replaced by other linguistic elements of or from the attacked language. So, translating drama should consider ideolectal, dialectal, and sociolectal properties of the voice, and also should try to keep the original text as it is. That's, of course, regardless of the cultural values that are included in the original text, and transform them to the target text. To move directly to translating poetry, we have 4 verses from Baudelaire's poem, L'Albatros, that is in Fleur de Mal. We have souvent pour s'amuser, les hommes de l'équipage prennent des albatros, vastes oiseaux des mers. Here we have the rhyme, âge, mer, âge, mer. So this rhythm has, of course, characterized the original poem. And we are going to see how translators have tried to replicate or keep the same rhythm. Here we have 6 translations by different translators. So in the first one we have crew, vast, through, and mast. There is an attempt to keep the rhythm as it is, but it's not the first and the original one, because what's expressed in French by the sounds heard in âge, mer, is not what is heard in crew, vast, through, mast. And the same thing goes for all the other texts. For the verses translated by Wallace Fowley, we can see that he did not keep any sign or any rhythm, and he try to focus on meaning as much as possible. So we have often as an amusement, crewman. This is meaning based, it's not form based. Moving on to other characteristics of poems. Speaking, of course, about the stylistics of a poem. The poem "The Raven" by Edgar Allan Poe has been chosen to explain assonance, alliteration, rhyme, and internal rhyme. So what's in red is assonance, and assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds. So you have upon, hundred, this, visitor, this, nothing. So we have the repetition of O in the first verse and the repetition of E in the fifth and fourth verses. Alliteration, that is in yellow, we have the repetition of the first sound in words. So we have while, weak, wary. All of them starts with uwa. And also we have quaint, curious, and they start with the sound k. And also we have nod, nearly, napping. So we have a lot of alliterations, that is a lot of repetition of the same sound. And also we have the rhyme in blue. We have wary, we have lorry, and we have door, lore, door, and more. So you have this repetition of or, and or, which gives beauty and gives an aesthetic level to the original poem. And also you have another type of rhythm, that is the internal rhythm, that is dreary, wary, knocking, tapping, rapping, tapping. So this repetition gives an original aesthetic image of the first poem. Now we are going to see how it has been translated. First, we have a translation by Baudelaire, and he translated The Raven as Le Corbeau, and we can see that he translated it in a prosaic way. That is, he did not translate it as verses, and he transformed it from being a poem to being a prosaic, a prosaic text. But also we have another attempt by Paul Lorendo. He tried to keep or to replicate the sounds of the original poem, and we have city, par interest, nuit, las je médite, and we have all of the previous stylistics are being replicated in the translated form. Another poem that is translated from verse to prose is Beowulf, which the poet who wrote this poem, of course the original poet is not known. And we can see two different translations. So we have one of them is translated by Seamus Heaney, and it was translated as verses. But the translation given by John Mitchell Kimball transformed the poem from this verse level to a prosaic level. Now, there has been a study about these two poems, and the study is made by Hans Sauer from the University of Munich in Germany, and he says Kimball was also one of the first editors of Beowulf. So he knows a lot about Beowulf. So his prose translation is quite good, and this is of course an academic evaluation of Kimball's translation. but he uses archaic or Archaisian language to translate, of course, the original poem. Now, what he says about Hine is that his translation is a poetic recreation. He focused more on the linguistic aspects of the poet. He uses modern English, so this is another difference between the two translations. And his translation, of course, was considered in this study as more elevated. Now, the final slide, the final element in this presentation is the translation of Season of Migration to the North by Tayyib Saleh, who is a Sudanese writer. We have the translation of the novel is also or undergoes also a lot of changes that risk reducing or distorting the original text. So we have "It was, gentlemen, after a long absence," and we have so this is a translation, and the original text is "عدت إلى أهلي يا سادتي بعد غيبة طويلة." So it was after a long absence, and we have عدت إلى أهلي. Of course, this "it" expletive "it" does not mean anything in Arabic. It was used in English just to support the syntactic level of sentence, but in the original writing we have no "it was," and different and other elements are going to change in all the translation. So here we come to an end of our presentation. I would like to thank Mr. Hmad Benaissa. So thank you so much, Mr. Hmad, and I would like also to thank the Academy and thank the audience for attending this lecture. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taibi, for this insightful / rational lecture. We greatly enjoyed the entire presentation. Your exploration of the unique linguistic and challenges involved in literary translation was both comprehensive and thought-provoking. The way you translate, the way you established the theoretical foundations and the conceptual assumption provoke a strong framework for delving into the intricacies of navigating these various linguistic levels required for successful literary translation. The case studies you presented analyzing the linguistic aspects of translating poetry, drama, and prose were particularly helpful. The comparative analysis of existing translations offered valuable insights into effective practices and common pitfalls. The call for ongoing linguistic educational education and cross-disciplinary collaboration is an important recommendation that underscores the need for continuous improvement and innovation in this specialized field. Your lecture was an engaging and informative exploration of the complex linguistic landscape of literary translation. We appreciate the depth of your research and your ability to present the material in a clear and accessible manner. Thank you for sharing your expertise and providing us with thought-provoking and enriching academic experience. Now we move to discuss the audience questions and comments. Mainly, we have two main questions. The first one is, what are the characteristics of a good translation? So I repeat the first question. What are the characteristics of a good translation, and how good translation distinguished from bad translation?
Okay. Should I?
Yeah,
Should I
yeah,
answer?
you can. Yeah, you can answer this first one.
There are many characteristics that are going to make a translator better in translating, or the appropriate term to use, more adequate, or to give more, to translate more adequately, because we cannot judge, or it's rare when we find some translations that are published and judged as a bad translation. But a more adequate translation should be based on the knowledge of the two languages from which a language is, from which a translator is translating, and the language to which a translator is translating. Of course, this knowledge of languages cannot be achieved because we spend our whole lives learning a language, and we can never completely learn an entire language as it is. We can find ourselves making mistakes in our mother tongue, in the language we are speaking at home. So it is difficult to master a language and translate it to another language that we are going to master. But we keep trying, we keep learning, and we try to do our best to translate. So a good translator should review his work. First thing to do is to review your work. So after translating, stop, give some time, and go back to the text and review it again and again and again. So the more you review your text, the more the quality of the translation is going to be. I guess the second question was about how good. What?
How good translation distinguish it from bad translation?
Yes, it's better to say how, are there any authentic translations? Are there any adequate translations? Are there any high quality translations? So translation lately has been mixed with ideology. So you can translate a text, submit it, and it can be published or it cannot be published. So if you don't master the target culture, the target language, especially, and the target references, the cultural references to which, because language and culture are related. So if you do not master how a society refers or uses linguistic aspects to refer to cultural elements, and it's difficult, and the translation is not going to be of high quality. And also sometimes it is sometimes the text is not understood. So when you don't understand the text, the translation is not going to be of high quality.
Thank you, Mr. Taibi. We have the second question that was made by Dr. Samah Haida. So Dr. Samah Haida, who is a member of the Beit Lisaniyat Academy. She says, to what extent do you see that with further progress of artificial intelligence, will be able to overcome challenges such as understanding figurative language and cultural contexts?
Well, thank you for the question. Artificial intelligence can be a bless or it can be a curse. In the field of translation, we can never know if artificial intelligence is making translation or is translating better than a human or not. We are not at the point at which we should say that artificial intelligence passed or overcome the human abilities to translate. So it helps. Artificial intelligence is of a great help but it needs reviewing, because you cannot simply put a text in artificial intelligence and consider what he gives you as an adequate translation. So artificial intelligence can help, can give you a pathway, and also artificial intelligence requires a comprehensible or a comprehensive input. That is, the instructions you are going to give to artificial intelligence are the ones going are the ones who or are the ones which are going to make a translation good or bad. So if you are going to provide artificial intelligence with the appropriate structures according to which the translation it is going to give, I believe that the translation is going to be more adequate. But if you are going to ask artificial intelligence to just translate from a scratch, you may receive some translations which you did not expect, which are not relevant to the original text.
Thank you, Mr. TAIBI. Yes, as you said, the machine is learning from humans, and as good as the prompts that you provide the machine with, it give you back a certain translation based on the background and all these data that it gathers, or that or the history that it has. The same way, yeah. So the machine may or may not overcome the human translation, but I think there are some benefits, and there will be some challenges for when we use artificial intelligence to translate a certain text. Do you have any expectations or for the future of the translation? What are the benefits and challenges that may the translator face?
Of course, our future is related to technology. When we speak about future, we are speaking about technology. And when we speak about technology and the future, we are speaking about the development of technology and how advanced technology is going to be. We all know that leaders of the world, that companies or international companies are investing a lot in developing these technologies. And we know that many engineers, people are working day and night in developing these technologies. So people are doing all their efforts to develop this artificial intelligence and technologies that are going to help us translate. But we can never reach a point at which we are not going to have to do any effort to translate. There is always an effort that is required for humans to translate, especially in reviewing translations, because now, as we have a lot of translators who are using AI, and these are famous translators, and they publish their translations which are assisted by AI. And also we have now machine learning. So machines are learning by themselves. They are searching for resources, they are importing a lot of structures, and they are using a lot of algorithms to replicate or to replicate what humans are doing. So this artificial intelligence is always trying to imitate the human intelligence. So in this way, I perceive what's coming in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. TAIBI. As the moderator of this enlightening lecture, I would like to take a moment to express our sincere gratitude to Professor Mohamed TAIBI for sharing his unique insights and expertise with us today. On behalf of all the attendants, I would like to express our heartfelt appreciation to you, Mr. TAIBI, for your insightful / rational lecture. Any final words?
I would like to thank you all and to thank all the efforts. I have been a follower of Beit Lisaniyat since a long time, and I have benefited a lot from the lectures. And sometimes I go back to the previous lectures and I watch the videos. Of course, I learned a lot from what you are doing, and I would like to thank Beit Lisaniyat and thank you all for all your efforts. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We invite you to provide us with another lecture if you have another ongoing research, or if you want to share the findings of your previous research. As we conclude this event, I encourage all of us to reflect on the valuable lessons learned and to continue exploring the linguistic details of literary translation. Let us carry forward the spirit and of academic discourse and collaboration that Professor Taibi has powerfully championed. So thank you, Mr. Taibi. Let's express our sincere gratitude to Dr. MAROUAN ES-SAKRAN, Dr. SAFIA KESSAS, Mr. Yassine Jamal Idrissi, Dr.ABDELKADER Ben Touati, and Ms. Pr.SOUKAINA ELBAZ for making our scientific events successful. Thank you all for your attendance and participation. We look forward to further discussions and future opportunities to delve deeper into this fascinating and important field of study, which is the planning and linguistics and language planning. Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Taibi, again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.